Hello and welcome. My name is Aaron and this is the Thrive Live podcast, where I'm going to be sitting down and chatting with some pretty special people that have inspired me along my health journey. I hope these discussions can inform and inspire you along your journey, so please listen with an open heart and an open mind and enjoy the show. Thanks for tuning in. Jackson.
Hey man.
Bro.
What's happening?
This has been a long time in the making, and hey.
It's been a while, man. So good to be here. Thanks
for having me on. Oh, my pleasure. It's so good to have you up here. Thanks for travelling all this way as well, and it's so good to have you up on the farm and put you in the creek and meet my boy and see the land I'm working with. And
such a special part of the world, mate. It's really happy to be in your field, man. You know, we went for a nice run this morning and that was tough. My ego took a hit when you beat me up that hill.
I was like, oh, Jackson's behind me, I better keep going.
Dude, I was like blowing, and then you were just straight up the hill, and I'm you know, I call myself a runner, but not when I'm around you, mate. So it's good stuff.
Well, Jackson, I like to start the podcast off with this question, and that is, what is keeping you thriving, and what is thriving in your life today?
Such a good question. Yeah, awesome question. I would say what's keeping me thriving at the moment is training and health. I love, you know, setting these huge goals and achieving them. And lately it's been just jumping into the water and doing some swim training that I've really struggled with over the past 30 years. Haven't really known how to swim. So getting in the water, swimming laps, training for an Ironman in the next couple of months is going to be a real challenge. So that's what's keeping me thriving. Relationships, the community that we've got down in Wollongong, and the surrounding areas, that, as always, that's a rock. You know, that keeps me thriving too. So yeah, man, and just continuously getting myself in uncomfortable situations. Yeah, that's something that really makes me grow.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Uncomfortable, that's for sure. I look at some of the stuff you do and I'm like, that just looks like hell.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, it's funny, you know, I can go off and do these amazing things, like running an ultra marathon or doing those sorts of things, but as soon as it comes to walking down the chocolate aisle at Woolies, man, I am just hopeless.
Yeah, aren't we all?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'd like to share how I met you and how I came across the Rewired community. So just for the listeners, after my incident, my story where I actually tried to take my life, a good friend of ours, Stoney, actually recommended that I go down the ocean pool, and there's this guy with long hair, tattoos, named Ben Borg. He goes, he might be someone that you might want to chat to. So I went down there with the intention to meet Ben. And there was no Ben down there, but I saw this big community like laying down on yoga mats in a circle, and then there was one man there, like that was you standing up, and from a distance I could see you were instructing them to do something, and I was like, was this like some sort of meditation thing? And I was like, surely not, because he's like forcefully telling him to do something and everyone's just sitting there not doing anything. I was like, what's happening? So I watched on, and then everyone gets up and then jumped in the water after, and everyone smiles, the energy that people held, and everyone hugged, and then was like, I've never seen anyone that vibrant in my life, right? And this was 6 o'clock in the morning in the middle of winter, like crazy, people jumping in the water. I thought everyone was crazy, right? And then I came up to you and I said, what's this all about, man? You go 6 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be here, come join us. I was like, okay. So I rocked up, and then that was the birth of my breathwork journey. Yeah. And bro, what a journey we've been on together. Hey,
it's been incredible, mate. And I've got to say, like, to watch your journey from the moment I've met you and to understand your story, and then to watch you go through coming down to the pools, but then going and join Joannis and Breathless and doing all of that stuff, and now being, like, you know, the Masters trainer is So it's inspiring, not only from, it's funny when you get these relationships, because I hope that I've inspired you in some way, shape or form, but there's so much inspiration from you to me that keeps me going. And that's such a beautiful, like, cycle of inspiration, which I think is awesome. So it's been a really nice relationship built across the years, man.
Yeah, it's a good mirroring, hey?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's back it up before the breathwork, before the yoga, the conscious sort of communities. Let's go back to your football days, because were you still that sort of person, or there's been a lot of growth since then?
There's been a few lives since the rugby league days.
Yeah.
I grew up in Dubbo, out west, playing footy, and I signed a contract with St George Illawarra Dragons when I was 15. And probably from 13 was like the belief was set. I'm going to play NRL. That's my dream. That's all I want to do. So I signed when I was 13, and then just trained as hard as I could out in Dubbo, got myself up to Wollongong, and moved up when I was 17 and spent, from 17 to 24 in the ranks with the St George Illawarra Dragons, playing in the under-20s and then into the reserve grade. And that was my dream. Across the span of 17 to 24, I copped over hundreds of concussions, just light concussions, and then off the top of my head I can count 30 to 35 times where I was out cold, eyes rolled into the back of my head, waking up with blood on my pillow from my ears bleeding, and pretty bad stuff happening at that time. And I just couldn't get out of that mindset, because there's this self-identity that was related to footy. And the whole rugby league journey, that's all I was. That's who I was. So to lose that identity was to lose a huge sense of who I was as a person. And so when I was 24, 25, kind of going through this crisis, that's when I kind of found breathwork. And that's when I kind of found the cold water immersions and the natural human need for connection, just humane connection. That's all we need. And the vessel was breathwork and ice baths, or the breathwork in cold water. But the crux of all of that is just, can we connect as two humans? And no better connections are formed than that through a challenge or through jumping in cold water together. So the rugby league story and that part of me is, I'm so grateful to have had that experience and to have had the opportunities that rugby league has given me, because it's taken me out of Dubbo, which I love that town, but it's given me the opportunity to move to the coast, to start this new life, and now it's presenting all of this whole new sense of who I am, which has been a nice journey to kind of go on.
Did you win any premierships or?
I won, and this is probably funny. Like you play the footy. I didn't win any major ones. I won one premiership when I was 18. And when you're at that stage of 18 years old, just playing under 18s, you're like, oh yeah, this premiership feels pretty good. But when you know that you might never win another premiership, you would suck the juice out of it a little bit more. But you're kind of thinking, oh well, I'll go off and win an NRL premiership, or I'll win something bigger later. So this doesn't mean much. But looking back, I'm like, that under 18s premiership was huge.
Who was that against?
I was actually out in Dubbo. I was playing for Dubbo Macquarie at the time. Just before I moved to Wollongong. So I was playing under 18s and I was 17, and we won against Wellington Cowboys. So that was a cool little journey. There was some it was wild footy out there. Like,
country footy is.
Country footy's tough. Like, it's different. It's different, And that's where I got this growing up, was like, Dad would say, if you sidestep, you'll sidestep straight into my shoulder. And he said, you run straight and you run hard. And that's all I did for, run hard as you can. Don't stop. And then, that's what sort of probably that mindset of run hard, tackle hard, play hard is what is the result of 40 concussions later.
Yeah, I definitely know that feeling of winning the premiership when I was under 16s, which is when I finished playing football as well. We beat Kiama, Helensburgh versus Kiama.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that was unreal feeling, hey.
Yeah.
And 16
yeah.
too, like just that sort of adolescent age where you're coming into your manhood, and yeah,
Sure.
it just felt real being on the Wynn Stadium like grounds. Yeah, it just feels so cool.
Yeah.
Well, so what was the sort of catalyst moment that sort of changed you? Because from your football days, like
from footy, yeah.
What made you stop playing football? Like,
well, I went to the doctors, and when you're 21, 22, and you've got this dream of playing NRL, backed with this sense of identity, which is a rugby league player, for anyone to say, "Hey, you should probably think about hanging up the boots," no, that's not happening. There's no way that's happening, And so then it sort of, I was like, I'm just staying headstrong. I kept playing, and then finally the doctor said, "Look, you can't play anymore. You're going to end up dead or a vegetable if you keep playing." And at the same time, I don't know if you remember when Phil Hughes, he was a cricket player, he got hit in the head by a cricket ball and died. This was like just a couple of weeks before. And so that made me think about all of this stuff. And then I was watching Will Smith's movie Concussion and all of this information coming out about CTE, and that really started to scare me a little bit. And so then that went from, okay, I have to it started to crumble. This dream started to crumble, and I was like, okay, starting to realize I had to let it go, but I couldn't. And then it was actually the plants that gave me that sense of acceptance. It was I tried DMT for the first time, and that was something that just really blew me away, in a sense of like, why are you smacking your head for a dream when you got to go out and live and just accept it and move forward? So that whole experience, the plants, they guided me in many ways as well. But also having my dad with me in those times to help me through it. Mum and dad was really
I remember you
powerful.
sharing if you're comfortable, I remember you sharing something pretty big about involving a phone call from your dad. Yeah. Did he right to share that? Or
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was a Wednesday night, and I was just come off the back of training, and we were playing for the Illawarra Cutters at the time, and I didn't make the side. Wednesday night is when they release the team list. They announce who's playing, and the coach was like, "Jacko, you just got to keep doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get there." And I'm this young kid who's just keen to play, and I didn't make it. And I didn't make it, and I was like, "Why didn't I make it?" And I felt like that was it. Like, when you have this whole sense of identity formed around a belief that's like, I've got to play footy and I've got to make it, and then you don't make it, in hindsight, the pure reason is you're just not ready. You're still a bit green. You're only 21 or 22. So I'm just like, man, this isn't working. Like, went in this huge state of depression. And along the journey is just like up and down. Like, you're riding this high of playing footy, then you go crash down when things happen. You get an injury or you don't make the side that week. And so I didn't make the side that week, and I just felt like it was over. And my dreams were... Anyways, went down and sat at the beach and started crying, and just uncontrollable emotion, just letting it out. Like, why am I not good enough? Losing this sport, losing everything that I've ever worked for. And sitting here now, and for most people that listen to this probably think it's a little bit silly, but when you think about it, I'm someone from aged 13 who just gave everything to this sport and give everything until this moment, and then you realise it's all gone, I've got nothing, and I'm like, I'm worthless. And so I'm sitting there crying, I'm like, I'm going to just go out that way. It was dark, and I just see the waves and the darkness. I'm just going to go swim. I'm going to go swim out in that ocean and swim until I can't see and get disorientated. And so I stood up and just like took this breath, and the feeling that come over me was like this numb sensation of like, here you go. And so I stood up, I took my shirt off, I put my phone in my shoe, and I was about to go and took one last breath and then looked down. And I looked down and seen the light flashing, and I was shaking up. I was like, and I said, that's Dad calling me on my phone, you know. And I said, don't answer it. Don't answer it. Just go. And lucky I answered that call. And I rang up. I answered the phone, and I was he knew I was a bit shaken up. He goes, what's going on? And I said, I didn't make it, Dad. And it just like 1 second, 2 second pause, 3 second pause. He goes, I'm proud of you, son. I'm proud of you. And that moment was just like, it was such a relief. Like my shoulders just, everything just felt like everything was okay in many ways. And so then that kind of inspired the journey of helping other boys that might not have that dad, to show them the way and to be like, well, you know, I'm proud of you too. Like, because that was something that definitely saved my life.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Far out, man. Just being a new dad, to hear that, like I was just fucking holding my tears back then, bro. Like, can't imagine it. And me myself being in the same situation of trying to take your own life, it's a deep hole, hey.
Sure.
Yeah. But I always like to bring this up, the Charles Eisenstein quote, where it's like, you only hit rock bottom when you choose to climb out, because you've now created the bottom.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
If you don't choose to climb out, he's like, it just keeps going and going and going down.
Yeah.
You know. But let's talk about the moment between that, your football days, and then the breathwork days. So you went traveling, right, with our friend Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys just did a event last weekend.
We did.
Yeah. How was that?
It was awesome, man.
Yeah.
It was really nice to be back with Zachy.
Yeah.
We had it was like a 90-minute deep breathwork session, and you know, it was so good to see men in that a late 20, early 30s who you would probably perceive as like these strong masculine dudes who don't express. They're just like, no, I'm sweet. But just seeing them come in and fully like be vulnerable and open up and share, you see the strength that takes for these young men to do. And so there's a few boys that were there. There was like amazing sound healer Simone was with us too, which was it was a pretty special event, man.
Yeah,
it was really special.
That's cool. So let's talk about the travels that you and Zach did and what you brought back from that. So like let's mention the plant medicines, but maybe we can circle back to that.
Sure.
And let's get the breathwork mission down and the code that you and Zach were creating Rewired.
So me and Zachy were sitting in the sauna one day, and we met at 6 or 7 years ago, and we were sitting in the sauna, and we were like, let's make something. Let's do something together. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we didn't really know what to do. So we were just like, let's go for a journey to South America. He's like, I'm going for 6 months. So he ended up going for 6 months. And I was like, I'll meet you over there. And there was Zach, his partner Eliza, myself, my ex-partner Lauren, and the good mate Sid. And Sid had just come back from Sadhguru's ashram in India, and he was going to meet us over there. So we all went to South America, all with different intentions. Mine was, I didn't really feel like I was a man in many ways. I was still sort of finding myself as a young boy in like a 26-year-old body. And so I went over there with the intention of finding what community meant and what it meant to be a man inside of a community. And we went over, and it was just, we noticed the presence that these men had inside of their community, and it wasn't money related. Like, it wasn't like I've got all the money. It's like they had this sense of unconditional love that was expressed through connection and touch and strength
And purpose, right?
and purpose. Yeah. So having those insights when I was over there was really cool. And then we kind of went through the retreat and the plant medicine stuff and come back, and then we kind of birthed this community, which was an awesome birthing, you know. At the same time, COVID happened. Yeah. And so it was kind of like COVID happened, and we realized the need for human connection. We realized the need for, you know, people to just come together. And so we were just like, let's just do it and just start this little cold water immersion thing. And
it was so good. So that's kind of where I came along on my journey. And man, that community just held it down for myself and so many others. Like, I even catch up with some of those people because they're still my friends, and they're just like, man, those COVID days were like the best days of their lives, you know. And then you speak to other people that were just really struggling, but that community just was so well niched. And you're also doing the potluck dinners and the community hikes up to like waterfalls and just getting people connected. And yeah, man. And so what was it? A winter's challenge, right? As well. So 90 days, you guys jumped in the cold water, and that year I made 88 out of 90. And man,
how did you feel after that?
I was like a new person, completely new person. That's what inspired me to go off and do the breathless retreat and get my breathwork instructor's course. And yeah, bro, it was insane. Like, so talk about from when you're over, was it Peru?
Peru and Ecuador, yeah.
So with the community sort of things, is that why you were doing the potluck dinners? Because it's like bringing that sort of community that they had over there?
It was actually Benny Borg that introduced me to potluck dinner. I'd never had one before, and Ben goes, hey, we're going to do these potluck dinners. We're going to have one at our house, come over. I was like, yeah, sweet, what's a potluck dinner? And he just said, bring a dish, so no one has to cook. Everyone has to cook, but no one person has to cook food for everybody.
Yeah.
Come over, we put the dish in the center of the circle, and everyone shares.
That was the best feed I've ever had.
Yeah. And the thing is, what we found is like, so many people would put in so much love and effort into the food because they knew they were going to be like putting it in the dinner. And so when you not competing, but when you've got someone like Ben Borg's food next to yours, you want to do your best.
Yeah.
I purposely didn't put mine next to Benny's because he's way too good.
Oh, his chocolate treats, hey.
Man.
If you want something good with chocolate, go see Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was really, so there was the potlucks, and then there was kind of the hikes and all of these other really cool events that happen and still happen from time to time. More recently, it's the community's still there, just taking a little step back at the moment, just to work on my own stuff and get myself good. You know? So
well, a lot of that community's now moved away, spread out.
That's right. Yeah.
The original community that was there during lockdowns, which is cool to see. Everyone's sort of spreading their wings now.
100%. Yeah.
But everyone comes back and returns and
that's right.
appears their face. But it's so cool. You also did the running challenge during lockdowns.
Yeah. That was cool.
Was that for like mental health sort of thing, or just to get people out of the house?
It was more for my own. Like, here's the thing. Anytime I'm doing something, it's to scratch my own itch.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't want to just run by myself.
Yeah.
Everyone's in lockdown. No one can go to the gym. And I had this idea to start to run my first ultra marathon. And I'm not going to do it alone. So I started to go, all right, well, I'm going to start training for this. I'm going to put a little bit of time into it. But let's have a running challenge, and I'll put it on... I think we done Strava, or it was an Excel doc, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
So you could clock the most kilometres over. There was actually no end, was there?
Yeah, it was just as soon as lockdown ends, then there's a winner.
But then the lockdown didn't end.
Yeah.
Because we were like, okay, in 6 weeks, lockdown's meant to end. Lachlan didn't.
Everyone's like, my legs.
That was cool. Oh, I'll
Yeah.
have to go back through the stats and have a look at that though.
Yeah, how many people ended up doing
I
that?
think
Do
there
you
was
remember?
like 80 or 90 of us
Wow,
that were
yeah.
all kind of doing
It
it,
was-
having a go. And
It was so cool, and I remember like checking it every day. I was like, "Oh, this person's beat me now." I was like, "I'm getting put my shoes on."
yeah, it's really cool, and like because you'd run along the path down home, and you'd just be like, you go for a run, and then you'd be running across post mates, and you give each other high fives. On the way out, it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat you today.
Yeah.
No, that was so cool.
But
hey?
yeah, so the original birthing of a lot of those things is more just to kind of scratch my own itch, I guess. And
Yeah.
like, you know, as selfish as that may sound, but it's still cool as well.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Like, appreciation to that. Like, I have so much gratitude for you, because I didn't even run at that time of my life. And you set it up, and I was like, I used to run. I used to play footy. I was like, surely I can get back on the treadmill or on the streets and run again. And I still remember the first run I went was 3Ks, and that was like hell. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe next time I can do better. And I just started doing around the oval, just a couple of laps around the oval. My knees and legs were killing me. And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna build up to this. And then within 3 months, I was running 20Ks.
Yeah.
The shortest like time, man. Like each week was 5Ks, and the next one was 7Ks. And I remember going from 7 to 10, and then 10 to 14, and then from 14 I went to 20, and just over the space of a few weeks, man, and just blew my mind.
It doesn't take long, does it?
No.
It really doesn't take long.
No.
You know, yeah. You get from that point of like, you know, it's like you plant the seed early, and then when the seed's just about to sprout, you know, you got a few sore knees and you've got a sore back, but maybe they're just growing pains.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just the seed or the plant penetrating through the soil. But as soon as you go through that little bit of growing pain, then
Bursts.
yeah, there comes the habit. There forms the whatever it is that you want to form.
Yeah.
And it's funny touching on the community stuff. I think the best piece of advice I got when it was starting the community was just do it for yourself. Like when we were doing breathwork, me and Zach would go down together. For a whole year we went down together by ourselves. And then we started to kind of ask people to come down, and like that takes a long process to start a community, and if you're not willing to do it by yourself, like I went down for me because I'm going to go down and do breath work and jump in the cold water because I know that's good for me. If people want to show up, cool.
Yeah.
But if no one shows up, then I can still do it by myself and still get something from it. And much the same as the running challenge. Like I'm going to set a spreadsheet up with my distances and do all of that stuff. And if anyone else wants to join, feel free. But ultimately, like I'm going to do it for myself. And that's always been the best piece of advice I've got when forming a community is do it for you first. Like, don't do it because you want to form a community of 100 people. Do it because
well, that's the I we all mentality. Hey?
Yeah.
That's I always repeat that. That's what I live by. You serve yourself first, then your cup's full, so you can serve the next.
Fully.
Serve your community, then your community serves the world at large.
Yeah,
so I know you train like a savage, but a savage that will kill you with kindness. That's for sure. What's the meaning behind like some of the explosive workouts that you do? Like, why do you put yourself through these challenging discomfort moments? Is it to keep your body good? Is it to keep your mind right? Are you running from something? Are you running to something? Like, what's the deal there?
So many people have said to me, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you. You go for a run and you run for days and whatever. Or you do these crazy workouts. And it's like I've questioned it sometimes, going, well, there must be something wrong with me. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, I do this because it's expanding upon the limits that I have. I like to go out and I'd like to penetrate the borders of what my potential is. Okay, and then when I reach that border and penetrate it, just go a little bit further. And expand it a little bit more, and expand it a little bit more, you know, and see what this is capable of I love looking at people like Ross Edgley who swam around Great Britain without ever touching land, 150 days at sea. I love listening to people like, Pat Farmer, who I was lucky enough to run with, and he ran around Australia. This dude's 62 years old and runs around Australia doing 70 to 90 Ks every single day.
Wow.
How do you do that? And to do it with no, he doesn't care if anyone sees it or not. He's doing it because he wants to do it. And that's cool. I'm inspired by those people, and I'm like, you can do that. That's cool. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Not to say that I want to go and run around Australia, but
You just want to do it twice.
Yeah. So it's cool, to have that limitless, almost seemingly limitless potential. Yeah. I think it is inside of all of us.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, maybe.
So what was the ultra that you did this year? Was that 100 Ks?
Yeah, that was the Elephant Trail, so that was 160 Ks.
Jesus.
Yeah, so we started at 7 o'clock on a Sunday night, on a Friday night, and we ran through the dark. And ran through the dark into Saturday, and then we ran. I had 50 hours to complete the whole thing. Okay. I got 40 hours in and then fell asleep on the side of the mountain and didn't wake up, and then so got DNF'd out of it. But yeah, that was
What's DNF?
Did not finish.
Right.
So didn't finish. I didn't get to finish. I got 130 Ks in.
Yeah.
And then had to pull out.
And then how'd you feel when that happened?
I felt grateful that because I'd never run that far nor traversed that much altitude. It was across the whole course was 9,000 meters of vert.
Wow.
But I think it was I must have done about 7,500.
Yeah.
Which I was pretty proud of.
Yeah.
But still, I didn't finish. So that's why I need to go back next year, because I really want to do it. But yeah, I had a bit of mixed emotions, but I knew that as soon as I was happy with where I finished, but I also think that I've got a little bit more in the tank for next year. Yeah. I know where I went wrong. I know what I need to do to get better. Mm-hmm. And we're on that path at the moment, which is really cool. Yeah.
So what did you do? Just stop for a rest and just passed out?
Don't remember.
Don't
remember. Because it was
no sleep.
No sleep. It was I was hallucinating. I would just be running off in the middle of the dark, and it's just you and your head torch. So you can only see 2 meters of light, and I'd look up and I'd see, all of these birds and these possums, and I'm like, those birds are weird. I can see they're just so chill, and I'd go up and get a little closer, and the birds would just be looking at me in the eye, and you'd see these, literally the reflection of their eyes. I get a little bit closer and closer, and these hallucinations are real. And I go to touch the bird, and I touch the bird, and I'm like, that's not feathers, that's wood. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just hallucinating. Tripping out. And it's 3 a.m. And then you feel like you're in this maze where you're lost. There was times when I'm just questioning whether I'm running along the right path, because I'm just running up the hill and down the hill, and then my mind just got too, I think it just went in too much. It was too crazy. I went crazy. Yeah. And then just fell asleep and lights out.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because if I back it back up a little bit, and I was running with a guy who got really dehydrated, and he couldn't keep anything down. He had no water. He was like, I just need water. I got food, but he kept spewing the food up.
Yeah.
And so then I said, oh, look, I've got 300 mils of water. You can have it. We got about 8 Ks until the next aid station. You're not going to get to the next aid station, but I know I can. I feel good. So I gave him my water, and then as soon as I ran off, I knew I can't last 8 Ks. I can't get the next 8 Ks with no water. I'm going to be dehydrated. And in an ultra marathon or any sport, as soon as you're dehydrated, you can't rehydrate. You have to stop, rehydrate, and then start again. But there's no stopping. It's just you'll keep going. And as soon as you get dehydrated, you can only get more dehydrated. You can't get hydrated again.
Yeah.
So I get dehydrated and I start to hallucinate and see things and feel things, and yeah, then it was like a whole 12-hour journey through the next day and the next night.
Wow.
Till I passed out on the mountain. But funnily enough, that guy's name's Dean. I'm passed out on the mountain. He wakes me up about 13 hours later. Thank God I gave him that bit of water. Because if I just said, nah, I'm not, you don't need it. I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
If I just kept my water on me, what's he going to do when he sees me? He's like, dickhead, you didn't give me any water. I'm not helping you now.
Yeah.
but he pulls me out 13 hours later. He wakes me up and wraps, because I wake up and I've got hypothermia. I'm uncontrollably shivering. I can't regulate my temperature. So he wraps me up in this space blanket and picks me up and he's like, well, we're both going home. I can't finish this. You can't finish this. We're going to go. But we still had to hike another 6Ks down to the closest aid station to get a lift. So that was pretty bad. That was pretty full on. Yeah. Dude.
So do you think that's, you said, you know where you went wrong. Do you think that's where you went wrong by letting yourself get dehydrated? Or do you think you could have finished it if you stayed hydrated?
I went wrong, right? In many ways. The first thing is I didn't get any sleep the night before. I didn't set myself up the night before to have a decent sleep. So I got up at about 6 a.m. on the Friday morning when we were that was the day of the race. And I tried to lay down and go to sleep with 40 or 50 minutes before the race, but didn't get any sleep. So that's one thing. And then the next thing is my girlfriend, Alyssa, she was meant to pack some Red Bull in cans and a few things in my bag, and she forgot to do it. So, nah, it's not her fault. She's cool. It's not her fault. But yeah, and then I had Panadol when I don't think I should have had Panadol, because that just makes you drowsy. There's a few different things that I'm going to change this year.
Yeah, okay. So how do you prepare for these big events, these big challenges that you do? Like, what are you eating? What are your workouts like leading up to it?
So for me, it's just a big build up of how much volume can I consume in any way, shape or form, whether that's going for a run, doing a workout, or going for a ride. It's like, can I build the hours of aerobic base work? So basically just, the last run I done, I was lucky enough to go to Broome and run from Broome to Darwin with Pat Farmer and do 30 to 50 kilometres every day. And that was like really cool because I had the opportunity to build that base, and we were doing like, 7-8 hours of running every day for a month. So that built a huge base. Yeah. This year I won't have that luxury. So I'll basically like try and just aim for 8 to 12 hours of training every week. Yeah. And I'm in that zone too where it's just cruising, like not fully taxing and frying my nervous system, but I'm just going, just going, not sprinting. Food wise, I'm still trying to nut that out.
It's a long journey, the food journey, hey, figuring out what works for you.
Well, it's what works for me, what I'm emotionally tied to,
And what makes you emotional.
So, but I have been playing around with my hydration status and just going, if I'm not hydrated, I'm not training. Yeah. And if I don't train, I don't get to compete. So my number one thing now is being hydrate really effectively. So like have at least 3 litres of water for my body weight, have at least 3 litres of water in the day. And then any training that I do, it's 250 mils of electrolytes every 15 minutes to maintain that hydration status. And then any weight that I lose during that session will be 1.5 litre, for every kilo lost of water would be 1.5 litres of water back in the system. Yeah. Because hydration, for me, like hydration equals dehydration equals fatigue. And fatigue and performance can't coexist. Yeah. If you're fatigued, no matter how many people say, oh yeah, like I'm fatigued, but I can still perform. Like the Navy SEALs thing is perform at your best when you feel your worst. That's granted, but if you can feel your best all the time and not be fatigued, because one, you're looking after your hydration, you're looking after your training, you're looking after all of these little things that would keep your performance level high. You won't fatigue, hopefully.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been at now, is just try and really focus on hydration and nutrition as best as I can.
Yeah.
But I've got to feel that out. But yeah, so it's been a really cool journey.
Yeah, I just recently discovered off the Western A Price Foundation. We were talking about that yesterday in the water. I got there some watermelon, right? And then I emptied the watermelon out, blended it up, and then added beef gelatin into it. So it's got the protein in with the water, and then add a pinch of salt for the electrolytes as well.
Great.
Bro, have that in the morning. You'll be flying all day.
I'll have to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Maybe that might be a good. Do you
Yeah.
eat? So do you eat before these big runs?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I go by that kind of, I guess, carbo load mentality where I'm trying to, consume as many carbs as I can to fill up the muscles and the liver with that kind of readily available fuel source.
So do you still have the proteins?
That's the thing that I think depletes you. I do, yeah. So that's a massive thing that does deplete you over something like longer than 3 hours.
Yeah.
Is you start to break down in protein. So having that kind of some form of protein meal is really important.
Yeah.
I would tend to have. What did we have last? I'm trying to remember. I think it was like we didn't have whey protein. Just like substantial meals.
Yeah.
So we would have potatoes. There's no protein in potatoes, but I don't remember where we got our protein source from, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it's important.
Yeah. That run you did up near Broome, I remember seeing on your Instagram you were went to wet your hat or something, and there was a crocodile in the water. Like, crazy, bro.
Man, I'd never seen a crocodile before. That was the first time I've ever seen that. Yeah, that was hot, man. Like, 'cause that was like hot. I can see why they only call it wet or dry season, because the temperature doesn't change.
Yeah.
It's 38 degrees in the middle of June.
Yeah, wow.
It's like, wow, it's hot. And that was a cool journey, but
yeah, the roads look punishing, just straight.
It was
so that as long as the eye
I
can see.
don't know how this guy done it, Pat. He would just be running like 70 k's every day, and we would do it, but you would just look down the road and you'd be like, the mountains that are off into the distance, we've got to run over those. And then you'd look behind you and you'd see the mountains off in the distance as far as your eye can see, and you'd be like, we've ran over those.
Yeah.
And you'd see the little triangle signs, like when we were getting closer to Darwin.
Yeah.
It'd be like 300 kilometers.
Yeah.
The sign D, 300 k's. Sweet, I got 300 k's to go.
So do you have like milestones? Like when I'm running,
Yeah.
I like pick a thing and I'm like, oh, we'll make it to there, and then tick it off. And then
Yeah,
you get, so
yeah,
you're like
yeah.
rewarding yourself?
Yeah, so
Was there anything out there to even look at
No,
to do that?
no.
Just dirt
So
road.
there would be, you'd get dropped off. The other runners would be in the car. They'd drive 5 k's up in the car and park their car 5 k's ahead. You would start running your 5k interval, which is roughly 25 minutes, and you'd watch the car drive, and then you'd see the lights off into the distance, and you'd keep watching it, you keep watching it, you keep watching it, and you could still see the car, and then you'd see its blinker turn on, and you'd be like, that's 5 k's, let's get to the car. So that's how straight the roads were. Like, you could see the car for 5 k's up the road.
Yeah, wow.
It's pretty cool, and it was cool to have Dan there too. He
Yeah.
was like, yeah, it was awesome to see him on this journey of mine as well. Like to go to Broome and Darwin together, and to see the footage that he captured, and then also for him to do the 100k with me too was pretty powerful. It was really special.
Yeah,
you know?
he's a good dude.
He is, yeah.
I like his hugs. He's a good hugger. He's like
anyone that's got a hug from Dan feels held.
Yeah, exactly. I remember Kira and I were talking about that. It's like she started feeling uncomfortable And then he just takes this big soft breath, and you're like, "Oh no, this is okay." It's like it's not creepy. We're just chilling and enjoying and soaking this hug up. Yeah.
So
Everyone
good.
gets it over and done with too quick.
I know, yeah.
Let's go back to South America, bro.
Mm.
Because we didn't really talk about your plant medicines.
Yeah.
So what experience did you have over there? Like what plant medicines did you sit with, and what were the big takeaways or the big experience that you had?
Yeah, so over like the two plant medicines we sat with was San Pedro cactus and the ayahuasca. And they say that San Pedro is the grandfather. No doubt Benny's had a good conversation about this with you anyway, but like San Pedro is like the masculine grandfather, and then ayahuasca is the grandmother. And both, and every ceremony that we have is all leading up to the grandmother. That's your final. And so we got there as a 5-day retreat. We got there, we had hape and the intentional prayer and introduction at the start, and then we'd done San Pedro the next day, and then we got up the next morning and done Cambo medicine, which is the frog poison that they burn you with, and you purge for 15 to 20 minutes.
And that's like a cleaning out before you do the aya, right?
This is all of this is like a cleansing.
Yeah.
You know, the San Pedro is like a really grounding medicine that's heightening the senses, but it's grounding you into this place so that you can really connect with the earth and connect with the land. And then you'd go and do the Cambo medicine, which is like, it's doing so much more than detoxifying the body, but it's cleansing, it's purifying, it's getting everything ready. I can't explain it, I'll articulate as well as some people can, but it is powerful medicine. Like, and the shamans that are facilitating Cambo medicine, even more powerful. Like when I'd done the Cambo, there was the shaman who could only speak Portuguese. There was the translator who could speak mostly Spanish, a little bit of Portuguese, a little bit of English. And then there was me who can't speak either. I can't speak English most of the time. So, but I had the experience with the Cambo, and after the experience, this shaman's, he's just watching me and watching what goes on, and I didn't even purge. Like, I didn't even vomit. I just dry heaved a lot and a lot of energy, and he looked me in the eyes and he could see me, and he started speaking in Portuguese to this translator, and the translator said, so the Cambo is going to help your liver, and it's going to send most of the energy to your brain to heal your brain. So just, this is after all these concussions and after all of this stuff. So I'm like, it's funny you say that, because I think my brain's a bit broken.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's interesting just the way that they can kind of, I don't know,
see how
they can see stuff, you know. And so it really helped kind of do that. And then after the Cambo, we had the sweat lodge on the same day, which was intense, powerful, so powerful. And then at midnight that night was the ayahuasca, and that was there's so many messages that come from those. Have you tried it before?
No.
Oh man, there's so many messages that come, and I'll tell one story because you can spend hours talking about this.
Yeah.
But the main, this changed my life, and it was an experience that I had, and I was laying down, and there was Sid, Zach, Eliza, and Lauren all laying down, and so the ayahuasca starts to make me feel a certain way. I feel a little bit funny about where I'm at, and it's having this little, almost like psychotic episode. The shaman said, whatever the ayahuasca tells you, or whatever feelings you've got, just close your eyes and let it take you where it needs to go. If you resist it, you'll have a real bad time. And so I'm getting, with my eyes open, I can see the crackling of the fire, and the shaman's playing their drums, and I'm looking around, I'm like, oh my God, these people are going to kill us. We're about to die. Like, I felt like I was in some satanic cult thing. I was like, looked down, and Sid and Zach were laying down. I was like, they're dead. no, I've killed these people. I've brought them to South America, and we're all going to be killed in this thing. Sounds silly, but it was in my head. That's what was going on, and so I'm just closing my eyes, and I just remember saying, close your eyes and just let the visions come on. And then after a couple of moments, you know, when there's the in the movies that someone's in a medical ward, or they've just been concussed, then the lights go one side to the other side, left to right, left to right, and it's the doctor shining light in their eyes. That's what was happening to me. There was this white light going left to right, and then finally I blinked my eyes open, and I'm in this white padded cell in this lucid dream, like, and with my eyes open in the dream, I'm like, whoa, and that scared me. And I'm like, I opened my eyes in reality. I'm like, what was that? And I look around, I get this feeling that all my mates died. And I'm like, what do I do? Close my eyes. And I'm just like, okay, just stay in this lucid dream. It's going to tell you something. And so this doctor comes in and he says, yep, Jackson, what's happened? You've taken this ayahuasca and you've gone insane. And now you're in jail. You're in this padded cell. And you just need to tell us what happened. You just need to tell us what happened. And I was like, couldn't speak. I was a mute. I just like couldn't speak. And then he was like, when you want to tell us what happened, I'll come back. And I opened my eyes again, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And then when you think about this psychedelic world, you think, you know, geometric patterns and shapes, and you don't think of like actual dreaming, like actual things happening in a dream. And I close my eyes again, and I'm by myself, and there's a door inside the padded cell with a little square, and that square is a window. And at the window, my mates come to me and they say, Jacko, just tell us what happened. It's okay, just talk to us. And they stay there. A couple of my close mates would stay there for a couple of seconds, and then they'd walk away. Then my family had come, mum and dad had come. They'd be like, Jacko, just tell us what happened. It's okay. And I can't say anything. And then come back, how you feeling? How you feeling? All these people had come to this window, and finally Zach, he bursts down the door in this lucid dream, bursts down the door, and he gets on top of me, and I'm bawling my eyes out, both in dream and in reality. I'm bawling my eyes out for whatever reason. And he goes, Jackson, I fucking love you. Tell me you love me too. And I just said, I love you. And then this whole lucid dream just goes through like smoke, this purple smoke, and then these beautiful geometric shapes and patterns happen, and I just feel this like, this crazy sensation of love. And and then what I took from that was just expression, like, we'll get you free, expression. So keep expressing yourself. That was cool. Tell your mates you love them. You know, that was a powerful message.
And knowing you over the past 2 years, which was after that experience, that's all you bring to the community is love and appreciation, and telling people that you care for them and you're proud of them. And man, you can definitely see that that shine through you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's so cool.
I've really tried to embody that for no other reason than, I guess, like, just that's what I feel like I have to do as a man, you know, rather than, you know, I could do all the things that men do, but ultimately, like, what we're all here to do is just show that connection through, I guess, love in many ways. You know, so that's been a powerful one to sit with, and to tie that into a lot of the other stuff that I do. It's all love, like going through the ultra marathons, doing all of the work with the boys, and having this community that does the breath work as well. That's all tied into love, because we can't love without challenge. We need that challenge. We need to put ourselves in an uncomfortable situation to test the infrastructure of the love that exists.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And that was like us this morning, doing it with my wife and my mum and my dad all
The
jump.
ice bath.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man, that was mum's second ice bath.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
Man.
and she was struggling. You could see it.
You could.
Just having both of us there and calm her down, and then just dropped in.
But the vulnerability.
Yeah.
The vulnerability to go there.
Yeah, exactly. Because mum really shuts off a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And to see her getting in the ice bath and then say that she needs me there next to her, like, was pretty big for her, I find.
Absolutely.
And that was Kira's first ice bath since before she was pregnant.
She's done it like a champ too.
Yeah.
Straight in.
Yeah.
She's the best.
Now she got frozen milkshakes on the boobs.
That's so serious.
Well, so what's you working towards the Ultra next year? Is there anything else you're working towards, like for the Rewired community, or what you're going to be doing next year? Or
I feel these events are really special. You know, I love doing the events with Zachy. I hope to put a few more of those on in the coming year. Also, I want to get reconnected with Breathless as well and do a little bit more kind of my own stuff. Working on that sense of there's the running that helps me, you know, explore the potential of my physical capabilities, but then doing the stuff with Joannis and doing that Breathless stuff has really helped explore the capacities of my emotions. I remember there's a video actually that was on Breathless, and one of the dudes was like, I'm not scared about the ice water, but I am scared about the sharing. I'm scared about, you know, that's what really is going to be tough for him. And so I felt the same. I'm like, that going down that road is something that I want to do more of as well next year for my own personal stuff, is to, you know, reconnect with Breathless and get in there. And as for Rewired, it's just hold the fort. Yeah, I love doing that stuff.
And you've got more. It's not just you down there doing the community.
Tyrone's down there. Ryan Eats down there. We've got a cool little community.
Yeah, I met Ryan. Yeah, he's cool.
He's a legend. Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Yeah, I think he knows Johannes too, does he?
Yep. He's did he do his masters? Or he's done his level 1? Yeah, potentially level 1.
Yeah, cool.
He's right into it too.
Like a squad down there now. Hey.
Yeah.
Well, did you, before we wrap it up, we're just running out of time. I've got another podcast pretty much straight after this.
Yeah, man.
I know you love your books.
Yeah.
Do you have a book you can recommend for listeners?
Yeah, I've got if I was to say this, right, rather than ask about a book that I could recommend, if there was one book that I could only read for the rest of my life, I would say The Way of the Superior Man. That's a book that I've really resonated with over the years. Or The Alchemist. The Alchemist, I would say, would be up there with a book that I would gift to people or recommend people to read, because it's just the story inside of that is so resonant no matter what part of life you're in.
Yeah, it's the archetype, hey?
Yeah.
Anyone can relate to it. Yeah.
No, yeah, man.
Sick, dude.
Awesome.
Well, have you got any gems, any last bits of wisdom you'd like to leave for the listeners? Maybe particularly some young men out there?
Well, yeah, there's one thing actually. I got taken. You took us through a really nice breathwork session this morning, and something you said really resonated, which was the longest journey a man can make is only a feet long. It's from his head to his heart, and that's something that I'll ponder on this drive home and reflect on. And yeah, it's a long one. It's a long journey, isn't it?
A long drive home for you. Yeah.
A long drive home, a long journey back to the heart. You know, but no. If there's anything else, it's just the gratitude. Like, so grateful for this opportunity to be in this space with you, man. And thanks so much for putting this all together. And awesome.
Thanks so much for coming up. It's been an awesome weekend and awesome couple of years knowing you as well. And I feel like the journey is just going to keep building, so it will keep recruiting along the way.
Hell yeah.
So Rewired _co on Instagram.
Yeah, Rewired _co on Instagram.
And Jackson Meritt on
Instagram. Yeah.
Go find the savage.
Yeah. Let's go for a run.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much.
We'll do it again for sure, bro.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Catch it, bro.
Yeah.